$130 million over last year's budget, shoring up services, helping women find housing, protecting victims in court, making sure that every call is answered. Look, we have proposed doubling the funding for rape victims and provided more legal help for victims of domestic violence. We just passed the health care reform. What most Americans don't know, you all know in this room, most Americans don't know that domestic violence was a pre-existing condition. Literally. Literally. No more. No more. So look, folks, as I'm observing myself, I do get too passionate about this, but the bottom line here is that we got a lot more to do. We've done a lot. But as all you know, there's so much more we have to do. You all know the unmet need that still sits out there. Rape and sexual assaults are devastating crimes that need more attention at a local, state, and federal level. Rape is the most underreported violent crime in the country. More than 20 million women in the United States have been victims of rape, and the consequences are profound. We need to do more. Rape victims need crisis counseling, long-term mental health in some cases, support as their cases move through the criminal system. I'm wearing a little pin that was given to me, CASA, which is one of the organizations I helped sponsor as a young senator, to give advocacy for women going through the process as well as children. The funding we proposed for 2011 budget for sexual assault services is a good start, but it's only a start. We need to unclog the backlog of testing of DNA evidence in rape kits. 2004 DNA technology and collection has expanded dramatically, but there are thousands upon thousands of rape kits sitting on the shelf that have never been tested because we don't have the money. And we did in our committee, Dick and I, we had the scientists run a study for us. It's estimated somewhere close to 50% of the rapes could be solved because the men are sitting in prison now because we have their DNA just by testing those rape kits. And you say, well, they're in prison, what difference does it make? It gives the woman closure. It allows her to close the wound, to know who is there. Folks, I know you're working hard with the state of Illinois, and I commend you all, and the state is as well, but across the country, we need to do more to help communities keep up with this demand and put a priority on these testing of rape kits. We owe it to the victims. We owe it to our children. And most important is that we have to continue to have an impact on our daughters and our sons. The CDC reports that 1 in 10 teens has been physically abused in a dating relationship this year. The study in California found 20% of the young men reported seeing a friend of theirs hit his girlfriend. This is unacceptable, notwithstanding the progress we made. Look, all of you are leading the way through to try to figure out how to deal with teen education and prevention programs, and I take pride in the fact that my home state of Delaware has what they call Delaware Safe and Respectful Relationship Campaign. It's a good example. It's beginning to make a difference. Almost 100% of the teens who have been in the curricula say that they have in fact learned a great deal and has prevented them from using force. Whether that's true or not, it is significant. They recognize that violence is a choice they don't have to make in their own lives. This is what we need to get to early. There's nothing more important than education to end this cycle. And statistics show that at least half the men in prison, the numbers go as high as 80%. There's only two things men in prison for violent crimes where they used violence have in common. It's not their race. It is they can't read, and they were victims of, or they witnessed their mother being a victim of abuse. Abuse is a learned behavior. A learned behavior. Not because my concern for women or children or anyone is the dominant factor. If I could wave a wand and end one thing to fundamentally impact on the safety of all Americans, I would end domestic violence. Why? Because that learned violence is not just that those young men violate, overwhelming percentage of them violate their own female relations, but they learn that violence is an acceptable behavior. They're the ones committing these violent crimes. Look, we need to nourish and support more programs like yours, teaching our sons and daughters about the impact of abuse so they can serve as models for their own children. Look, When the Violence Against Women's Act was signed 15 years ago, we knew at the time that the legislation didn't mark the end of our work. It only marked the beginning. And the most important part was declared unconstitutional in the Broncollo case, which said that a woman should have a civil rights cause of action. But nothing we can do about that right now. That real change takes time, though. But that real change with people like you is possible. There was a famous woman advocate from this town, Betty Friedan. She was, I'm told, a Peoria native. She once said, "The problem that has no name, which is simply the fact that Americans are kept from growing to their full human capacity, is taking a far greater toll on the physical and mental health of this country than any known disease." And that's the violence against women. And it's not just American women. That's why Senator Dick Lugar, your neighboring senator, and I introduced, with the help of Dick and others, an international violence against women statute, saying that we would give significant aid, and if in the countries in question they had laws that protected women, that would be part of our consideration. It's not passed yet, but we're going to continue to push it. Look, folks, we're here to make sure that women and children can grow up to their full capacities. We're here to keep the promise that we made to our daughters and our granddaughters, to end domestic violence and sexual abuse, not to reduce it, to end it. And together we're going to change this system once and for all, to free them from the oppressive cultural norm that causes them in any way to feel that they are responsible for or they've contributed to their own abuse. The comment that got me in so much trouble, I'll repeat again, and I made it 17 years ago. No man under any condition other than self-defense has a right to raise his hand to a woman. No condition. None. Zero. And until that becomes the cultural norm, we're going to need to do fundraisers. Until that ends. Look, to end the fiction that because some women do not leave, they're somehow responsible. To end the fiction that this is my wife, this is a family affair. Look, that's how we'll meet our goal of ending domestic violence, and we change these cultural norms. And in the process, we're going to make my father very, very proud, because we're going to continue to support and make as a priority what you do. My dad used to have an expression. I'd get in trouble. I was the oldest of the kids. I'd be left in charge. Something would happen. He'd come back and say, "You're responsible." Or I'd say in school to the nuns, I'd say, "But sister, I thought." It was important. And the response always was my father's response. Joey, if everything's equally important to you, nothing is important to you. If everything is equally important to you, nothing is important to you. The reason I'm so flattered to be here with you, the reason I probably took more of your time than I should have, is because you are the people in America who not only, like the vast majority of Americans, think violence against women is offensive and oppressive, but you are the ones who decided to make it your #1 priority. Somebody, the Dick Durbins in the Senate, all of you who work here, as long as you demand that this be a priority, we will succeed, God willing. God bless you all for what you do, and may God protect our troops. Thank you all very much.